Hello everybody, Dullahan here with another Dawn or 2 Shoutcast. This is a match between Zevargel as the Chaos Lord and Sofia as the Techmarine on the north side here. So kind of red, goldish, yellow Space Marines and very, very blue Chaos. So pretty standard opening. We're seeing an attack squad and a CSM squad out as the first unit. Sometimes you see the scout come out quicker just to get more map control. The attack is really good at back capping though because of the 50% faster cap speed. So on this map it does kind of make sense when you got a couple points that are pretty close to your base. Just get the attack out first. You're going to see the second heretic out for Zevargel, but no second scout for Sofia. So, oh, there's a second scout. Okay, so just a little bit delayed on the second scout there. Those sort of small inefficiencies don't really matter, but they also matter a lot. It's one of those games where you don't need to be hyper efficient like StarCraft to really have a nice tight build. Getting this middle VP pretty early on, going to put some VP pressure on Sofia, who is just going to capture this one. So that's going to be about 1 VP every 2 seconds, 30 VPs a minute. So it's one of those things that's not going to lose you the game very quickly, but it might put you at a disadvantage later on where maybe you have a much harder time holding the map. So CSM's going for kind of an aggressive move up here, probably expecting to run into scouts, so not the worst move. Heretic's going to force off these scouts, so the scouts are just going to fall back, do some kiting damage, probably retreat. Meanwhile, Techmarine and Tax are going to blast apart these heretics pretty handily, I think. Not quite micro in that engagement though. But yeah, the heretics are going to have to retreat. The Techmarine bolter does kind of an obscene amount of damage. Chaos Lord just ignores all that, goes for the VP. So Zevargel going for some pretty strong VP pressure here. I might see a combi flamer to help annoy the scouts with the 100% fire on the move accuracy. It's pretty good at just force melee on the scouts and do a ton of damage. The scouts here are just going to take some model losses, but the longer they keep the CSMs engaged like this, the less time they have to cap the point. The triple VP cap coming up right here, so that's going to be 90 VPs per minute. Pretty big advantage, and both players going for suppression teams at almost the exact same time. So we have Devastator versus the Havoc. The Havoc is very similar to the Devastator. The big difference is the Havoc does a bit more courage damage at the expense of, I think the setup time's a little bit longer. So the Havoc will suppress in that first volley a lot more consistently than the Heavy Bolter will, but the Heavy Bolter is a bit more maneuverable. So in Scout with shotguns up here, that's going to make these heretics have to think twice about engaging. Still no upgrades from Zevargel. I think he just got his generators up, that's why. So he's actually been kind of eschewing power income a little bit here just to get map control. The VP pressure is pretty significant. We see that Sofia is down to 370 VPs versus 500. Havoc getting set up here, going to force his tax squad to retreat. Might actually take off a model here. Scout's full retreat from Sofia. Techmarine is just going to try and delay this VP cap. Chaos Lord just forcing this Devastator into the house. He does get the combi flamer, so he's actually probably going to burn the Devastator out of the house here too. Get this VP. I don't think the Havoc can actually shoot the Chaos Lord in this position either. So just going to take a ton of damage from the flamer for free, and then he can't even set up if he wants to. Just a forced retreat there. And all these requisition points are Zevargel, so this is a very significant advantage at this point in the game. He's going to have a real... Sofia's going to have a real tough time coming back here. CSM's pretty tough, might actually bleed a model here from the scouts. Double shotgun scouts is an interesting choice. You lose a lot of kiting ability with that, but since there are no... Aspiring Champion is coming up. The Aspiring Champion does kind of change the math on the scout shotguns because they're a lot less effective. Like, they're still good, but... they're just not going to beat the Heretics 1v1 like they would without the Sergeant. No Techmarine War Gear yet. I kind of would want to see maybe a Mastercrafted Bolt here, just to suppress squads on command. Got the Vengeance Rods coming up, Chaos Lord just kind of skirting around that perfectly. So this Havoc is going to be forced to retreat, going to take some damage here, might actually lose a model. Scouts going for a bit of a Gen Bash harass. They can still kite heretics, but if the heretics get their charge, the scouts, they do have double volley though, so they might actually be okay here. Techmarine will definitely secure this. See, normally what happens is you do the double volley, and they still have enough health to just get in melee Doom Blessed, and that's it. But with the Techmarine there, the map changes, and this heretic squad is going to die here, I think. It's pretty low health, about 10 health. Yep, that Heretic Squad is dead. That's a big blow for Sofia. This Devastator might actually die to the Chaos Lord in the HQ, though. Yep, Devastator goes down to the Chaos Lord. Second Devastator up is pretty good counter to this Chaos Lord time strategy. Chaos Lord level 2. Not retreating the Chaos Lord is a bit risky, but I think he can just barely pull that off. Maybe kill the weak here. Yep, kill the weak, get some health back. I would probably retreat now, though. Go back to base and heal. 300 VPs to 500 VPs, and Sofia's not able to focus on getting those VPs reclaimed because generators are being destroyed here. No one's near tier 2 though, so it's still going to be a T1 fight. Techmarine in the house, pretty difficult to deal with, and this CSM squad is going to bleed a model probably. Havoc squad's going to force attack squad off though, and this Devastator will force his Heretic squad off, but they do manage to get that generator, so no big skin off his teeth. Yeah, attack squad goes home. Double VP cap. Zevargel doing a really good job with these VPs. I would like to see him get this noted up maybe, just to give him a bit more power income, and also deny Sofia's ability to reclaim that, because Space Marines don't have a lot of damage output against power nodes without the Flamer, so it takes them a long time to really kill that. And it's time you don't really want to spend 30 seconds killing a power node. Most of the time, it's not the best use of your time. So it's one of those things where when you build it, they just won't bother trying. So Scout's going for the rec points. That's the best move in this situation. Try and get some requisition advantage. Zevargel's bleeding a lot less, so he's kind of floating requisition a little bit in anticipation of tier 2. That can be a good idea sometimes if you want to build something in tier 2 that's like 400 rec plus. Just float 500, 600 rec into tier 2. Then when you have to reinforce, you're not. You can still get whatever you want. Bloodletters probably be a good choice against this kind of build, because Techmarine is not very good against like the Force Commander is really good at just bashing Bloodletters. Apothecary can heal most of their damage. With the Techmarine, it kind of struggles with Bloodletters in a way that they don't, especially since there's no Assault Marines. So Bloodletters kind of just hard counter everything. But most likely, both players going to tier 2 now. I would probably bet money that he's just going to get Blood Crusher. I'm not saying Blood Crusher is a bad choice, but Blood Crusher against Techmarine has a Devastator and attack. I don't know if that's really worth it. Techmarine has a lot of war gear that just makes the Blood Crusher's life more difficult. I know people don't exactly like the Melted Gun or the Orb, but the Orb is pretty good against Blood Crusher because when they use the charge or the shout, they're immobile enough that you can throw the Orb, generally speaking. And also, even if you have the Orb, the Blood Crusher doesn't want to get too close. So it's more of a deterrent at that point. And it's more potent than the Melted Bomb because of the energy drain will usually stop it from being able to charge away. And then also I think it does a bit more longer stun. Anyway, a bit of a tangent there. So we got Aspiring Champion on the one Heretic squad, the new Heretic squad. That's usually a good idea when you're rebuilding a squad because they're going to be less experienced. You want to focus on getting the upgrades on them. As counterintuitive as that might kind of sound, like the Heretic squad that's almost level 2 will perform slightly better without. So if you got to prioritize one of the two, get the one that's a bit lower level. Generally speaking, sometimes it's a good idea just to stack it all on the one, but that's a full retreat from Zevargel. See, this is why you want to kind of bank your requisition. He can reinforce all that, no problem. And he has his Bloodletter on the way. Could even follow it up with a Blood Crusher, actually. Bloodletter and Blood Crusher would be pretty tough to deal with here. You can see the map is very, very red. All these requisition points are Zevargel. Sofia just kind of gets some requisition back with the Techmarine. I think if I was Sofia in this situation, I know I'm going into tier 2 at a disadvantage. A lot of people would probably go for a Razorback. I don't think that's the best choice against Havoc. We do have Armor of the Inferno. That's an interesting choice against Space Marines. It does have a bit of a disruption, but the damage is actually not that threatening, even against Scouts. Using the drop pod over here to... I think that was the global to spawn the attack squad, so getting a second attack squad, that's an okay choice. Get some plasma guns. Double plasma guns. It's pretty scary for these Havocs, for the CSMs. And Bloodletters, you know, they don't take bonus damage, but it's still it's a lot more damage output than just bolters usually. Yeah, if I was Sofia here, I'd want a Librarian, honestly. It synergizes well with the Devastator. Synergizes well with the Techmarine. If he does get a Blood Crusher, you put a Melted Gun and then do the Super Sprint. Bloodletters also take a lot of damage from Melted Gun because it just does 100 damage per shot. They only have like 250 per model, I think. Maybe a bit more now, maybe 300. But regardless, like, that's a lot of damage on them. And it's they only have 4 models, so they lose a model, they lose a lot of damage. Excuse me. Scouts with shotguns actually doing really good against bloodletters. It's got the sergeant, so the extra model does a lot more damage. You think about it, when you have a 3-model squad and you get that 4th model, that's basically a 33% more damage. And when you think of stuff that way, those squad leader upgrades, especially with shotguns where they get the same weapon, that's a lot more shotgun damage than you would otherwise have. So far, Sofia is kind of a bit upkeep heavy at this point with the 2 fully upgraded scouts, or at least, you know, sergeant shotguns, double tack, and devastator. That's a lot of upkeep to be paying. Versus Zevargel, who has a bit less upkeep. He lost one of his heretic squads again, so he's probably going to go for a Chaos Dreadnought at this point. I would actually probably petition more to just go straight to tier 3. He has enough of a VP lead, enough of a map control lead. Just go straight to tier 3. I think that's what I would do. Going for Stern Guard squad on this 1 tack squad. That's a smart move whenever you use that drop pod. Just get the Stern Guards on the 2nd squad. Stern Guards are very adaptable. They're pretty much good against anything. And they got a lot of health. The disadvantage of the Stern Guards is they have to level up again, so you're like a level 3 tack. You don't want to do that with your starter tack, but when you spawn with the drop pod in tier 2, yeah, just upgrade to the Stern Guard before it wastes time getting experience. So double VP pressure on Sofia, down to 160 VPs for 450. It's one of those examples where, because Zevargel has that VP lead, he can play a lot more risky. He can go for fast tech. And Sofia has to spend all this time fighting, and also, even if he has a full retreat, retreats all his units, Sofia's going to spend all her time just getting the VP. I'm thinking that Sofia actually upgraded the wrong tack squad with the Stern Guard, because the level 1 squad is on the left side of the map capping the VP. Yeah, so that's kind of the opposite of what I said. You want to upgrade the squad that has no experience because they reset the level 1. A level 3 tack squad is a lot scarier than a level 1 tack squad, generally speaking. That 1 scout squad getting dangerously low, and using blood sacrifice there just to get extra bloodletters out, overwhelm. This Devastator is going to be forced off, probably going to lose a model or 2. You can see how fast bloodletters just rip apart Devastator models. Chaos Lord just harassing this tack squad. So Sofia has a lot of money here. Maybe a Dreadnought would be a good pick. Yeah, Zevargel's going straight for tier 3, so he is actually not getting the Chaos Dreadnought. I kind of was expecting that from him, but I do like the tier 3 pick a lot better. It's just much harder to deal with, and if Sofia does get a Dreadnought, which is really what most people would get in this kind of losing situation, he can just have a Predator, and then that's just a definitive hard counter to a Dreadnought. Unless you do something really sloppy. This tack squad being a little committed here, just to try and get, yeah, just forcing the retreat there. So this is a pretty commanding game from Zevargel. Sofia actually went for tier 3 instead of Dreadnought. I do like that choice. I know it's kind of a risky position when you're this far behind on VPs, but the reason you want tier 3 at this point is the Techmarine can get a Vendread, which would be significantly better than a normal Dreadnought. Or even Terminators. I'd probably go for the Vendread if it was me, because you just get the las cannon or the melted gun on the Techmarine. The Vendread can tank a Predator a lot longer than a normal Dreadnought, because he has a lot more health, a lot more durability, blah blah blah. And also, he can be dropped into the fight, so you can drop him where your opponent's not really expecting it. That makes a big difference in the effectiveness of potentially getting a Predator snipe or something. Zevargel's kind of playing a bit sloppy with his squads here. He's down to just a Havoc, a Bloodletter, and a Heretic that escaped with like 30 health. But bashing Sofia's gens. So at this point, Sofia has no power income really to speak of, and a lot of requisition. So this is a situation where I think you try and get maybe 2 generators up, maybe even just 1, and go for Terminators. I don't think she can afford the Vendread. Either that or you get like a Plasma Dev. But Plasma Dev is risky with the Bloodletters, but I think Zevargel's down to few enough squads that Plasma Dev would just kind of... I think he's going for a Great Unclean One at this point. And, Great Unclean One will probably just win this. Whenever you go for the super heavy unit, you got to keep in mind that they spend a really long time just building in the HQ, which means you don't want to change your mind. And it's like about a minute and a half, I think, to build. Maybe even 2 minutes for the Great Unclean One, might be longer. That's a long time to have your production queue kind of locked up. In case, what if you wanted to change your mind to a Predator? Well, you just spend a minute building a Great Unclean One. And also, that's also 2 minutes that Sofia has to get in a better position. and get income and get better stuff. So Sofia has enough time to rebuild some generators. Yeah, just getting 1 generator, maybe 2 would be better. That'll be enough power income to have enough for a Vendread or Terminators. Great and Clean One is pretty beastly though, so that's not a huge threat on its own. But the Great and Clean One, the Orbo Omnissiah, is a really hard counter to him because he's big, slow, and he drain all his energy with the orb. He can't use his abilities, force to use Consume, blah blah blah. It's probably the best counter that you could have against that kind of unit. Something people don't think about a lot is that Shrines increase energy regen a lot for Daemons, which would include Bloodletters, Great and Clean One, Blood Crusher, and the Line Raider now. So that means they can use their abilities a lot more frequently, especially with Consume on the Great and Clean One. So if you get a Great and Clean One, you want to get a Shrine somewhere, just so he can really spam his abilities. Techmarine gonna be forced off by the Havoc here. You can see how Sofia's forced to commit so much to VPs. Getting the Vendread in the middle of the map. This drop pod can also reinforce units. That's everything the Vendread has going for it. Vendread also has 1750 health. I'm not sure how the invincibility ability works anymore. It used to be like a toggle. I think it became like a death throws thing. Vendread's going to spot the Great and Clean One. I wonder how this fight goes actually. Like, is it just like Great and Clean One does a lot of damage per hit. Just charging away. So the Great and Clean One's going to waste a lot of time just kind of chasing this, I think. We might see a las cannon on his Havoc, but that would reduce his anti-infantry force a lot. I think you just get a Predator at this point. He's close enough to Predator. Get in the Marcus Each on the las cannon. And Sofia is second generator up, using the Devastator pretty defensively. Really just forcing his Great and Clean One to spend all this time kind of chasing stuff around. Super slow without the Warship, so... Gonna Flesh Hook, maybe? Try to. There's the Chaos Predator in the queue. So that's going to be a pretty scary T3 force for Zevargel. Sofia also was paying a ton of upkeep on these Techmarines that aren't really contributing a whole lot. And no Warrior on the Techmarine, finally getting the Signum Armor. That's a really good choice, because that'll boost damage taken by the Great and Clean One by a lot. So if you get a situation where you got him like disabled, tied up, focus fire, that's a really good pick. It's also good against the Bloodletters. If they use their phase shift, they turn it off. You pop that on them, and then maybe you bleed 3 or 4 models before they actually retreat. You don't want to do it before they use phase shift, or you just kind of force them to use phase shift a little earlier than they otherwise would have. So both heroes level 3. Chaos Lord just still with the Combi Flamer, no weapons. I think you just leave it like that with all the scouts. I don't think you need the Chaos Lord to run around and hit stuff that much. You can see the upkeep is just reducing both of the players' income really low. So this is really a situation where Zevargel could theoretically lose his capping squads, which is mostly just going to be heretics and his hero, and replacing them is going to be very difficult. So this is a situation you get yourself into when you get these heavy, expensive Tier 3 units, is you could just lose on VPs because you can't afford to buy capping squads. But he does have such a VP advantage at this point, although significantly less VP advantage than he used to have. Chaos Predator taking a lot of damage from the las cannon. Vendread also caught in the las cannon of the Chaos Havoc. Vendread may as well just commit to this. Great and Clean One's going to vomit all over this las cannon. Might see a missile turret here. I would definitely push that missile button. It takes a bit longer to upgrade than you might otherwise want, though. But, oh, it is a missile turret. Yeah, the missile turret does a lot of damage per hit. That's a really good choice from Sofia here. But this Vendread's a little overextended. And the las cannon dev was forced off here. This is where the Orbo Omnissiah would be a really good choice, because you just lock down the Predator, or the Great and Clean One, right for that missile turret. And Vendread is going to go down here, but I think Zevargel might actually, if he's not careful here, this invulnerable speed buff might actually get his Predator here. Turn into rear armor. One more hit would probably do it. I don't know if he has enough time. They're losing this chart bonus, so yep, not enough time. Predator just barely survives there. Missile turret really messing with this Great and Clean One. He's down to 2,500 health. Kind of a fun fact about a long ago in the state of the game here is that Great and Clean One used to have about 9,000 health, and he cost a lot more. So he actually used to be a way bit tankier, and then they actually reduced it to make him more affordable. So I think Zevargel has won this game at this point. Pretty commanding lead most of the game. VP's down to 70, so that's only about a minute. Maybe 2 minutes of this VP drain. But if once he gets a decap on this, it'll be 2 minutes, or 1 minute. And Bloodletter is going to mop up this turret, and Sofia just has nothing at this point. Scout and Stern Guard. No Warrior on the Techmarine the entire game. I feel that That was a bit of a mistake. I would have really liked to see the Orb of Messiah against this Great Unclean One. I think also overextending the Vandroid wasn't really worth it. And second Predator just to really seal the deal from Zevargel. But I think it's pretty much over at this point. Let's just kind of speed it up a little bit here. Anyway, thanks for watching this game. More to come soon. I think I should just call it here because yeah, nothing's going to happen at this point. Alrighty, thanks for watching, everybody.